Welcome, Dino Constantino, the coaching in session. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Michael. How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're going to be talking about your work today as a self-development coach. We're going to be looking a little bit about your history and why you got into this field. To begin, let's talk about who you were before you were a self-development coach.
Whew. So I'm gonna be blunt because all I could do is be me, is be real. I don't like sugarcoating things. I was like very self-serving. I was very egotistical. I could have cared less about people, to be honest with you. Like I was all about me. You know what I mean? Like selfish. I believe you have to be selfish to an extent, but when you're just overly conceited and you think you doesn't stink, for a lack of a better term, I think karma comes up and bites you in the end, because I did a lot of wrong growing up. I've done a lot of messed up things, from getting into fights, from treating people disrespectfully. And it came a point in my life, man, where I just was tired of it, because I truly believe that the greats, when you're destined to do something great, there's something we have in us. You could try to, like, I try to extinguish my fire by smoking a lot of weed. I would smoke so much, and I feel guilty. And then when I dropped out of college, because I wasn't really into the college scene, in the sense that, how am I going to take business advice from a professor who don't know about money, who's making 50 grand, 60 grand? How are you going to tell me about how a business is run? I think that's a scam. I think it's not cool. I feel the system is meant for us to be employees. It doesn't teach you the financial literacy. It doesn't teach you the emotional intelligence that we all need to get where we want to go. And it doesn't teach you that failing is okay. Failing is part of life. I always go by this quote: if you've never failed, you've never succeeded at anything.
When we look just at your journey, trying things out, especially college is about getting a degree to do certain professions. For example, if you want to be a doctor, you probably want to go to college for it. Degrees that if a person came to me and they said, yeah, I just read a book or something, I probably wouldn't trust them, right? If you go to a specialist, something is wrong with you, you want the best educated person. That's what college does. Now, college is not for everybody. What I will say college does well for everybody is it creates habits and discipline. For example, if you have, let's say, 4 classes, you have to manage those 4 classes because your professor is most likely not going to baby you. This is not elementary school. This is not high school. It's a different ball game. You don't have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom anymore. If you think about it, in high school, you did still, but here you don't. You're starting to step into the adult world without getting into the adult world truly. However, college is lacking in so many regards. As you said, even after you're done with college, you are still not ready for the real world. You are playing catch up now because you're 22, 23, when you could have been 18, got a coach, got a mentor that could have told you about the real world from there. And then from there, you started building yourself up, giving yourself what you needed, maybe stacking the failures, as you were saying, and then succeed. Versus being 22, having to go out, fight, 25 to 28, maybe become successful to some degree, and then start to live life. So we're giving ourselves a 4-year delay in that gap. And there's some people who just say, you know what, I'm just not going to go through the system. And good on them because they found out what they truly want to do, the entrepreneurial heart. What you want is going to be greater than what the majority of people that go to college want, right? People who go to college, they typically say, I want a safe, secure job. Now, unless your degree is giving you access to a certain thing, for example, I wanted to be a teacher. I couldn't be a teacher in the school system without a degree. But at the same time, if I could have avoided it, became a teacher, did my own thing, just learned what I needed to do the job, I might have done it, but then I still wouldn't have learned the discipline and creating the habits. From looking at your life, right? Because you had a very, I'm sure, interesting and vivid childhood experience growing up where you're like, okay, I get to make a choice. I get to follow the crowd or I get to be me. What was that spark that gave you that idea?
About my childhood, on the contrary, I come from a good family. My parents, great parents, provided for me, made sure I had clothes on my back, food on the table. My father is the American dream personified. This guy came here. Now I'm Greek, by the way, so he came here from Greece, and he didn't know the language. He didn't know anything. But my dad, he just personifies grit. He came here, started pumping gas, and then he at the gas stations they have mechanic shops where they fix cars, and he was just like looking at, just looking, and then they would offer him, hey, let me sweep. Okay, here, let me try this, let me try that, and before you know it, he became a full blown mechanic, and then he bought a couple of shops, and he was managing, owning them. But what inspired me is I saw my dad, right? My dad is such, if he grew up here in this environment his whole life, even not to say he didn't do well, he did very well for himself, but he learned from a young age, this guy would have changed the world. Like, I truly believe that. He is such a people person. He's charismatic. He just understands people. Like the most difficult situations, I would see customers come and those customers who think they know it all. And mechanics, they get a bad rap saying, oh, he's trying to take my money. My dad, just cool, calm, collective. He's like, listen, man, here's the issue you're having. In order for us to go further with this is what we have to do. Okay, it's going to cost you this much. If you do not want to go with, there's nothing more I could do for you. So if you would like for me to give you your car back, take your car and you could go somewhere else. But this is the problem. Okay. And then it's crazy because so his first shop, I'm from Brooklyn, it was in the hood, straight hood, like in the projects. Across the street was the projects. And he would hear gunshots all the time. And all these guys, like these criminals, they would come to my dad and they would treat him with respect. Honest to God, he was the only like white guy in Bergen Street downtown that nobody bothered and respected. And I was just looking at that as a kid, and I was like, "Yo, this just goes to show you when you treat people with respect and as human beings, no matter where they come from, they return it." My father is a huge inspiration. My mom, same way. But mothers. My mother, great-hearted person, same thing. 11 years old, came here, did her thing, financial advisor. But she lives her life in like, oh, I don't want this to happen. I don't want it because I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't want you to go there because I got accepted into West Virginia University, and I really want to go there to get girls and to party. That's it. That's the only reason I wanted to go. But she was just like, no. What if this happens? What if you overdose? What if you do that? And my mom doesn't know my story. Like I could have been dead a bunch of times from like stupid shit. I've dangled in drugs before. I was never really like weed was my issue. I would smoke all day, all day. I would dangle coke and all that stuff, but weed was my problem. But I always I didn't want to be an employee. Like right now I still have a job, but that's just to pay the bills. But on the side, I'm doing my self development, I'm doing my wrestling. I look around and I see people so out of shape. And like when you look at people, I love observing people. When you look at people, their body language tells you everything. They're like, oh, I don't want to be here. What am I doing right? They're just all in their head. And I try to approach him and like be like, I'm 6'1", 220 pounds. I'm 11% body fat, right? A lot of people in Brooklyn, I don't know if you've ever been to New York, when you look at someone, they're like, yo, what are you looking at? Oh my God, what are you trying to do? I'm like, relax, man, chill, take a deep breath. I see you struggling. I'm trying to help you out. You're doing something wrong. And here's why. Some people are, cool with it. Other people, they don't want the help. So if someone doesn't want help, all right, you got to move on. Like, unless someone accepts the fact that they need help and they reach out, that's when you could help them. But if they just like know it all and their feelings, then can't really do much. You gotta let them go.
I'm actually from Connecticut, right by New
Wow,
York.
that's like Connecticut all the time.
Yeah, I know the personalities very well. Great people that come from New York, humble beginnings, truly. When I was asking the question, it wasn't so much of like looking at your family dynamics, but so much of the fight aspect, the weed aspect, that type of aspect. But I think from just speaking with you, it was more of the culture, the
Hmm.
environment that you were in, right? You said right across the street was the projects, and we mold to our environment. So if you have a good, healthy, strong environment, this is why I don't want to get too far into this, but I just want to talk about it really quickly. Why they say white privilege is a thing when it truly doesn't exist. It's just the environment that they grow up in is different than the environment that we grow up in.
Just to be clear, my dad's shop was in the projects. I spent a lot of time there. I didn't like have a house there or anything like that, but I grew up working, so I had 8, 10 hours a day after school with my dad in that area. That's why I was around it as a kid, and I saw what it could do and what it cannot. So I just want to be very clear with that. But yeah, man, white privilege. Yeah, I love topics like this because you seem like a dude who's open about it. I believe that people will always find an excuse to justify why they didn't get their quote unquote break, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, I'll say that about that. It could be white privilege, it could be all people turned against me, oh, I did this or I did that. But in my eyes, bro, you make your own decisions, you live by them, you either accountable or you're not.
And it's so true because your words have meaning. And this is very true into your work too, right? The self-development aspect is like either you want this or you don't want this. Like
Exactly.
you over here saying like you want to be this person, but yet you're not doing the things that are going to make that person. It's about the accountability. And I think you are going down the right street when you want to bring the conversation of like you're just not taking the accountability, you're making the excuse. Most people, they make the excuse. Now we can look at statistics where people will argue, we're not going to argue, we're not going to even have the conversation really, but they can say that a two-parent household does better than a one-parent household, right? Is
Yeah,
proven. We
I
can
can
look
agree.
at just growing up in the right neighborhood can create better children, right? It's proven. However, what cannot be proven is perception. And you have perception, my friend, because you saw what was going on. You were there 8 hours with your father in the shop, seeing what's going on, how people treated him. You perceived something. This is not something that
Yeah,
you were taught. You were
yeah.
able to see it and you were able to learn it. And the story I love about perception, and it just kind of shuts down all the arguments, is that there was two boys growing up. Their father was an alcoholic. Eventually, they're going through that example of their father beating their mom, going into a job that he doesn't like. And then the boys eventually grow up, and one of the boys follows exactly like his father, gets a job he doesn't really like to pay the bills. He is an alcoholic, comes home, is an abuser. In an interview, he said, well, I just followed my father. I just did what my father did. But the other boy, the brother, he was successful. He was able to have a happy, healthy family. He was able to start a successful business. He wasn't like alcohol or any drugs. He didn't want to touch it because he also had an interview with someone. And they asked, why are you so successful? How do you become this person? And he said the same thing, because I watched my father, because his perception, that is the key. People don't realize, like,
He
if
saw what he
I'm
wanted to
thinking
become.
something, what happened?
He saw what he didn't want to become.
He saw what
He
he
was
didn't want to
taught.
become. And if we can see that in our life, then we can say, okay, do I want to be accountable for what's coming next? Or do I just want to follow in my father's footsteps? Is passing the baton, is ending the generational curse. And you, my friend, are beginning that process right now. It doesn't matter if you have a 9 to 5 job to pay the bills, put food on the table. You are still ambitious. I did a blog, whole episode actually, on this, right? How to create $1 million business in the evenings, because typically people are going to be stuck working for a paycheck for a little bit. Then they can start that coaching business, then they can start that online business, to e-commerce, whatever you want to start. But you start and you do that in your free time. Instead of watching TV in the evenings, you work on the business. Instead of going out with friends on the weekend, you just work on the business and you grow
Exactly.
like that. It's very counterintuitive to what society says that you should be doing. On the
To add
weekends, you
to that,
should be,
Michael, to add to that,
of course.
when you're working on something that you love and you're passionate, as you're working on it, all your quote unquote friends, they become a distant memory because you're busy working on yourself. Like my friends, like right now, all the kids I grew up with, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I wish them the best, but they're into partying, having a good time. They want an average life. Cool. I have nothing against that. But I'm traveling on the road. I'm working on my business. I'm networking with people. I'm breaking old belief systems in my head that are implemented when you're a child. And sometimes the people you grew up with, they only want you to be doing as good as them or not as good as them. And when that happens, you're like, all right. Now, I'm very confrontational, Michael. Like, I love that. I love confrontation because I'm 30 years old. I believe my era, 1993, 1995, was the last era where we still went outside to play ball. We still all did that before the video game thing came up and all these kids. But I play video games too, but I still went to the gym. I still played football. I still played basketball. I still went out with girls, all that stuff. But I believe the next generation after us, they became very antisocial. And then society made that cool. Oh, I'm antisocial. What does that mean? Which in reality, if you look deeper than that, you're not antisocial because when you play video games, you got a headset and you're talking to people. So what are you talking about? You're just trying to give yourself an excuse not to do the uncomfortable work that's going to make you better, make you reach your best possible potential. And like my cousins, I always go into that. I won't go into much, but I just see laziness because they just don't like being uncomfortable. That's the only reason. That's why I love the gym. The gym every day. makes you uncomfortable, especially when you're trying to get to that next level. Uncomfortable equals growth, always and forever, till the end of time.
And I mean, I'm on the same page as you. I want you to understand that too. This is just good stuff for people to realize because it is about accountability at the end of the day, where you might have been the last generation to go outside and play, but it doesn't mean you have to be the last generation to ever do it, right?
Exactly.
You can have a generation that comes currently, we're in generation alpha. And again, social media is really big and they just follow the trends. We don't have to follow the trends. We can go out, be that black
Either.
sheep. We can go do whatever we have to do. But for the majority of people, they're just going to see what people are doing and copy it.
I agree. And you asked me what was the spark when I was growing up. I hated being a follower. I just didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me. Like I would always speak up. Every sport I ever played, football and basketball, my coaches loved me because I would always speak up. Now, don't get me wrong, like we'd fight on the court, we'd fight on the field, and after we'd shake hands, but I would always speak up. And there's a time and place to speak up. Now, when I say speak up, I'm like, listen, man, I don't think we should do this because this. I'm not saying, yo, you're an idiot. We're not doing that. Like, there's two different things. Because some people might hear that and say, so I'm just going to go up there and be completely disrespectful. It's not being disrespectful. It's presenting a case respectfully and having the team in mind. What's best for the team? And sometimes it gets shot down, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of these kids these days, oh my God, he didn't like my idea. I'm going to try to cancel. I'm not talking to him. Like stuff like that. That just gets me nuts. Like when I see things like that, because it's so easy to change. It's not, we have a problem at the bottom now. People are trying to get paid for doing the least amount of work. They're trying to avoid going out and doing things because they just want to be comfortable. And I think that's a major issue. And that's why I love personal development because it holds you accountable. When you're sore, you're going to go work out. When you know you're not supposed to have that meal and you restrain yourself from having it, there's a confidence that comes with that because now you could apply that elsewhere. Okay, I said I'm not going to have this meal. I said I'm not going to go out because I got to stay here and work on my business. Now I'm going to, and when you actually follow through, when the action is key. Now I'm a big fan of the law of attraction, but people think they're going to sit here and just like, and it's going to happen. It don't work like that. You're going to attract what you want, but you got the action is what's going to lead to it manifesting. It's not just going to appear like a genie. And I think a shift is happening slowly, but we're still in the beginning.
Definitely. And we do have to be the trailblazers that help the generation see that, right? Because if we have a generation of people that do what they're told and see, and what they see is what they do, guess what? That's what they're going to do. So we might as well give them something good to look at. We succeed wildly. This is why I think people attack Andrew Tate so much. You don't have to agree with the man, but you just see that he is a person who goes out and tries to do stuff. And so
I
many,
agree with 90% of what Andrew Tate says.
yeah, I'm like
I agree with
85%.
that. And the other 10% I don't agree. It's just like flavor. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. And if you look at his message, he's telling young adults, young males, because and I would like to hear your take on this. I feel like they're trying to unmasculine males, demasculate males, big time. That's why when I was growing up and I was in high school and I was hitting the gym, I would see jacked up alpha males, and I'd love that environment because I wasn't the alpha or the alpha male, if that makes sense. But I would go up there and I would say, all right, where am I at compared to these guys? Now I go to the gym and I don't like being the most jacked guy in the gym. That doesn't do anything. I like to be in a room where people are so much more ripped than me. Because now I'm gonna sit there and be like, oh, what's this guy doing? All right, I'm gonna go talk to him. What's going on here? Any advice? I always ask for advice. Nobody does that no more. Nobody asks for advice. They think that's, oh, you're gonna go talk, you're gonna go bother people. People who are givers and people who accomplish great things always want to give back. Always. I met the owner of the Washington Wizards one time. I had 5 minutes with him. I just happened to see him and I asked him a question. And I'm like, hey, I know you're busy. I want to be highly successful. I want to be a billionaire one day. What can you tell me? Always ask those, do what you're doing now, he goes to me. Always ask people who've done what you want to do for advice and shut your mouth. Just like that. He said it like that. I was like, yo, this guy's a G. Just because he told me to shut my mouth, I was like, this guy's a G. He knows what he's talking about. So I was like, all right, thank you so much, sir. Nice to meet you. And I just walked away. And I think I impressed him just because I walked away and I wasn't there like trying to, oh, can you do that? Like asking him for money. None of that. That, what I believe, makes a big difference because you never know what piece of advice is going to get you to the next point.
Very true. And this is where coaching comes in, because typically someone's going to have a mindset, is what I work with. You work with self-development, just helping people develop a better habits in their life, going to the gym, getting into, different types of mindsets that they need to excel. It's getting out of that comfort zone. Many people don't want to face reality. Many people, they want the quick fix, right? Tell me how you became successful. And they think it's like, oh yeah, just do this and that, and then you'll be successful. Buy some real estate, flip homes. And they're like, okay, like how do you do that, right? That's a whole skill that you have to learn, whether it be day trading, it be rentals, Airbnb, that requires skill, e-commerce, Amazon, drop shipping, skill. Many people lack skill today. People think that, oh, I'm just gonna be like a YouTube person, like a person who just makes vlogs and stuff, and people are gonna follow me. Sometimes you might get lucky, right? People do make a living off that, but it is becoming more compounded, and masculinity has taken a hit because of that. Because the male nature is to go out and fight and be dirty and to
Exactly.
swear and to be raunchy and to be like disagreeable, to go get jacked, if you want to say that word, but just to go to the gym and be fitness savvy. They say if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And if you are in
100%.
the gym, or if you're the smallest person in the room, good. You're probably going to become big. If you're the biggest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Same concept. You have to be in the environment in which you can grow into. For
Mhm.
example, there's
100%.
a analogy. A shark, if you put a shark into a bowl or whatever, right? The shark would never outgrow its environment. It will always stay the size of that fish bowl, because it understands it can't grow anymore, because if it does, it will die. But yet, we don't look at our environment the same way. We just say, well, this is my circumstance. This is my environment. I'm stuck here. This is what I was given. I can't change my fishbowl. So they stay mediocre. They stay low. They stay under the radar. They don't push for more in their life. What's your take on not so much extinguishing your fire, but utilizing that fire to get out of your environment to a better lifestyle, to better habits, and then into who you're truly supposed to be? So men should be masculine, but yet the world is saying you shouldn't be, because they're trying to promote weakness. They're not trying to
100.
promote strength. How can we get those men, and just people in general, it doesn't even have to be just men, to
Yeah.
find their true fire, their true strength?
I would tell that person, I think we all have a gift. I think our gift is, I think we're created, whatever you want to believe in, God, the universe. I do believe there's a higher power. I believe that we're given a gift, and that gift is ourself, the way we're made. Whatever you were made to do, you know it. It's a calling of your conscience. Like before, when you go to sleep at night and you can't fall asleep, it's because you're not listening to your conscience and it's telling you what to do. You're trying to fit into a circle. You're not trying to outgrow what you're doing now. I think in order for us to get back on track, people need to look in the mirror. Because on my social media, I always say, if you need answers, go look in the mirror. And they need to say, like, be honest with yourself. Like right now, I'm a follower. I care too much what people think. I'm trying to live the least amount of resistant life. I'm just trying to be here. I'm not trying to make a mark. But that's not what you're here to do. You're here to like leave a mark on this planet. I think we're the most interesting creatures ever. Talk, we communicate the way our bodies are developed. When that you sweat, you somehow you have eyebrows, you have to keep it from going to your eyes. Like this is all fascinating, and you're just being comfortable, knowing the ultimate fact. The ultimate fact is one day we will die. That is guaranteed, and knowing that, that should like take out the shackles. That should eliminate any other fear, because you will die. So why not just go do what you want to do, whatever that is? And you say influencers. Influencers didn't become influencers overnight. They worked at it every day, every day. People see the finished product. They don't see what that person did for X amount of years every day to get where they are. They don't see that. They just see the finished product and they're like, oh, I'll just go do this because, it looks easy. Okay, it looks easy until you try to go do it. And then what do people do mostly, Mike? They give up. Why? Because it gets hard. And when it gets hard, that's when you know you're on the right path right there. It's hard. Good. I want it to be hard, because when you could operate in hard, it becomes easy and then you open new levels. So to answer your question, people need to look in the mirror. They need to hold themselves accountable and be honest with themselves, like have an honest conversation. People don't have, they try to be all cool and nice to everybody else, but when it comes to themselves, they don't like being honest, because guess what? When you're honest with yourself, you start getting that burning sensation in your chest saying, oh shit, damn. And now you start getting anxiety and depression. And depression and anxiety is a result of not doing what you know you're supposed to do. Because if you get up and you do what you're supposed to do every day, get a workout in, eat healthy, help people, make a living, be an honest member of society, by the time you put your head down on the pillow, you're going to be exhausted. And then it's going to repeat again tomorrow. But what do people do? They get fat. They drown themselves in alcohol, in drugs. They go party. As I've gotten into self development and everything else I'm doing, the last thing I want to do, Michael, is go out and party. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to get home, I want to rest up, and I want to get back on it, keep going, and provide a better. Like, I want to be a billionaire, man. I want to. And why? Because in this world, my father told me when I was a kid, whether he agrees with it or not, it's like money is power. When you have money, you can help people. You could apply it to a cause that you want to pursue. And that's just the truth. That's why I want to be a billionaire. I want to show people, like, look, you don't have to settle for that. Like, as Andrew Tate says, the matrix. You could work hard, get around the right people, fail a bunch, and then you will succeed eventually. And don't put a clock on it. That's the worst thing you could do. When you put a clock on it, that's another thing people do. They just like, if I'm not successful tomorrow, I'm done. Come on. I used to, like, when I hear these things, I just like want to slap somebody. Like, yo, shut up. Like, what are you doing? How can you be successful at something in one day? Like, you need to forget the clock. Go write yourself out a program, and as you go, adjust the program. Adjust it. All right, this didn't work. All right, this worked instead. All right, boom. We're not gonna do that no more. We're gonna do this. But no, they want the quick fix, just like me. I would smoke weed. I would chill on the couch. I'd watch TV, and I would just like. It got to the point, like, where I was smoking like an ounce a day. It was like that, and they try to normalize that because weed makes you lazy. Now, is there stuff for athletes like myself? Yeah, sure. But how many people do you think smoke weed because gets them creative or for athletic purposes? I'd say 10%, tops.
Yeah. I would say like 5%, like
Yeah,
that much, but 10% is probably a little bit more lenient
yeah,
for the people who are doing those things that are inhibiting their own growth, the alcohol, the drugs, the weed and stuff. All I'm going to say to you is, like, how long are you going to procrastinate on reaching the person you're supposed to become? Because that's what it truly is, procrastination. We learn to not take action because taking action is uncomfortable. As you said, we have to become a person that's okay with being uncomfortable. How do you get uncomfortable the easy way? Go run up and down
wake
your
up 5
block.
in the morning and go run 3 miles.
Wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. There you go.
Hold
That right there, that creates a life of uncomfort.
I still struggle
Eventually,
getting up in the morning. I still
yeah,
struggle, like, all the time. Like, it doesn't get easy. I just got to get up and do it. That's it.
yeah.
You know, but
It's
still, it's like, it's
and
not to say it gets easier. You get accustomed to it.
right. And there's going to be days, 4:30, winter, it's snowing outside, maybe raining, and you're like, my bed is super warm. Do I get up and go out and go to the gym? I mean, like, your brain is going to be telling you all of these things. You have to be bigger than that. What people are going to face, their true opposition, is not so much the world, it's themselves. So
Yeah, that's
you are
the
your
old
own worst enemy. So
100%.
people need to learn how to control themselves. Stay away from the things that are just pleasure, right? Pleasure is going to keep you unhappy. People misconstrue happiness with pleasure. Oh, if I get this house, I'll be happy. If I go out with my friends and I drink a bunch, I'll be happy. But that's all just pleasure. Take away the pleasure. If you want to look at happiness, that's fine. But what
I
is
have
your
a,
true happiness?
I think people focus too much on happiness. I think, like, that's the wrong thing that people should look for. I think you should look to be proud of yourself. I think proudness is something that people should look at and be like, yeah, I'm proud of myself. Screw happiness. Like, I'm not gonna do this because I'm happy, or oh, this made me happy. Because happiness is a feelings. Feelings come and grow. But when you're proud of yourself, damn, like, now it's at 12 o'clock at night. I woke up, I put in a workout, and I went to work. I hugged my girlfriend, my wife. I was able to spend time with my loved ones. I worked on my business. I was able to even help a little old lady cross the street. Like, did something like helpful today. That's cool. There was a part of me at this business meeting where I wanted to give up because I was surrounded by all these people that were on another level. But then I thought to myself, no, I'm supposed to be here. This is where I'm going to learn, by being around these people. And I didn't give up. Like, that's the feel. Like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. That's the feeling that people should be. Like, be proud of yourself. Like, happiness, like, forget happiness. Like, nah, like, I'm not about that happiness. Like, I'm about being proud, brave, courageous, and setting an example. That's what it's about in my happiness. People put too much stock in that, because in order to be happy, you got to be sad. One can't live without the other. But when you're proud, it doesn't matter if you're happy, sad, or in between. You're still proud of yourself. Feelings come and go. And when you can operate regardless of your feelings, not to say I perfected this. I just this morning, I was like, my shoulder, because like I said, I'm arrested. My elbow's killing me. My deltoid. Maybe I should take a rest day. Maybe I should just stay home and kick it on the couch with my dog. I was like, nah. Once I have those thoughts, that's the all right. Get up. That's the cue in my mind. All right, I'm complaining now. If you're complaining, that's what you got to do. That's your cue. Yo, get up and get out there. That's the cue.
When we look at happiness, right, we look at the counterpart to what happiness is, sadness. We look at the counterpart of what proud is, disappointment. Because if you're not proud or disappointment, if you're not happy, you're sad. We have to look at the yin and the yang because it creates balance in our life. We need those moments of success and failure, which is the yin and yang to that too. This is all mindset stuff. You would rather have proud moments rather than moments of disappointment. And I'm not talking about failure. I'm talking about looking at yourself and saying, I'm disappointed that I didn't get up off the sofa, hanging out with my dog, and not going to the gym and getting a good workout in. That creates disappointment for you. But for another person, disappointment could be that I wish I didn't spend more time with my family. It could be different worlds for different people. And this is why having a coach is so important, because it clarifies what you need. Because everyone is going to be different. Everyone's going to have different ideas for what they want to go after. A coach just clarifies that for you. If we go back to the beginning of our conversation, we talked about perception, how someone perceives something. Most people in the world, they see happiness as the goal. All right. Now, I believe happiness is a myth, very similar to the American dream. Most people don't want a house with, just like to be a homeowner with a white picket fence and to work a 9 to 5 and to have 2 kids, and that's life, right? Most people, they think that's going to bring them happiness, but they finally get it. 50% of those marriages end in divorce. Was happiness not there? We can tell half the people are just not happy, and probably half more of those people, I won't say the other half, I would say maybe 20 to 30% are probably in marriages that they're not satisfied and happy with or fully fulfilled in.
They settled for that.
Because they're just like, well, this is my circumstance.
They get to that age where, like, 30 years old, I got to get married. Then they force themselves and they meet these random people who they're not really like in love with. Like my girl, bro, before, I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is destiny. When I met my girl, I met her at a house party, and I was coked up and I was drunk and I was high, but a feeling came over me, like legit. Like, I'm not even trying to like all that hocus pocus. Like, everything became clear. Like, I was drawn to her. Like, I could not fight the feeling. Like, no matter what, I could not fight it. And the funny part about that, Michael, is my ex-girlfriend introduced me to her as a joke. Like, I'm getting this gravitational pull, and I'm like, all right, I can't. Like, it's like I got sober for a second, and then I went up there, and like, I had never had problem with girls. Like, not to like toot my own horn. Like, I had a lot of fun in my life, but it was weird. Like, I was getting nervous. I was like stumbling my words over her, and I finally asked for a number. And then here we are, 6 years later. We lived together. Like, don't thank God she's not here. Like, I'd marry her one day for sure. But that happened organic. That day, that morning, when I woke up, that was the farthest thing on my mind. It just happened. A lot of people just fall in the trap. Like, my friends are getting married. I'm getting this. I'm getting that. Like, that's following perception that they have. Oh, I got to do what everybody else is doing instead of letting it happen.
Yeah, no, it's different for everyone when it comes to finding the soulmate in their life. But I now realize when people say, oh, you'll just know when you find the one.
Yeah.
And it always annoyed me when people told me that. I was like, that's not helpful advice. Give me some solid advice. Like, tell me how I find the right person. How do I know it's the right fit? They just keep telling me the same thing. Oh, yeah, you'll know. And it's very similar to what you said. It's just like you're gravitated to them. Everything just seems like it just fits, is perfect. You're just like, okay, cool. Now, I'm not saying that in a relationship, you're not going to have ups and downs. You're not going to have disagreements. That's life. Right? In life, you're going to have those moments. Relationship, career.
Now, let's be real. Women are fucking crazy. You know, they're nuts. Like I don't care what
I
it is.
don't know
Like
if we
they,
want to talk about that because that's going to be
yeah,
again,
yeah.
uh, attacking people. I would just say that we just love differently. We
Mhm.
just have, different emotions, and how we express those emotions are different. What someone might think as crazy might be normal for them. We just have to let them be, because again, to have a woman who can be feminine, step
Mhm.
into that nature and be proud of it, be overly emotional, that's the best thing,
Oh,
because we're
100%.
going into a world where we have our boss babes, we have women that are going to be like detaching themselves from being feminine and wanting to step into more masculine roles. And now, if we look at what happens, and we can go back really quick at the men being more feminine, a relationship can't work with two masculines or two feminines. Woman wants to be masculine, she can, but then the male has to take that feminine role. It has to be the yin and the yang, as I've been saying this whole entire interview.
Let me ask you
If you
something,
don't
Michael.
have it, yeah, if you don't have it, you're going to have problems later on. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying you can't have a strong woman, right? There's a difference between a strong woman and then a boss babe, or a woman
Mhm.
who wants to not respect the man who's trying to be the leader. Who's trying to be the leader doesn't matter about who makes the most bread either. We have been given concepts that are just false. Everyone has a role. Every role is important. We shouldn't look at a role saying it's inferior. I believe a woman has a tremendous stake in a relationship. It shouldn't be belittled. But yet, many women are running away from the traditional values of a relationship because they think a more masculine frame is necessary.
Women are the most powerful creatures in the world. Like women, like run the world. When I say they're crazy, I don't mean like oh they're not
Bunch of
functional. I mean
Beyonces
like
running around.
yeah, women are just emotional, you know, and sometimes they take the littlest things and they just making big deals. That's what I meant by that. I think a true woman wants a man to take the leadership role. Not to say that she's like she succumbs to everything he says, because like my girlfriend, she keeps me grounded. She's a strong ass woman. She's feminine. She's all that. So yeah, my girl is a tough cookie, and she's in the medical profession. She's a nurse, so she comes home and she tells me stories that she's seen. First, she was in oncology, so she sees people die from cancer, and she would come home and tell me these heartbreaking stories, and I'm like, this girl's so tough mentally. Like people think mental toughness is oh I gotta be all macho or this. When you see people in that state and you're there to comfort them and help them, I don't know how. Like I tip my hat to like the true medical professionals who really want to make a difference. That is such a like laboring job on a human psyche to see that all day. Then it's funny because she went from that to labor and delivery. Now she brings babies into the world. So she gets both sides and she comes out and she tells me all these stories. And it kind of keeps me grounded. And like without a strong woman, there can't be a strong man. Without a woman, you can't have a family. A male and a female you can't have a family. So they are the strongest thing in the world, man. And if you have yourself a good one, and you know, back to what you say, you like people always tell me, you know, bro. Like this, I can't even say it in words. Like you know, like right here, you that you will move mountains for something to happen.
No, very true. And I'm so happy that you were able to find that person that is going to complement yourself and that's going to make you a better person. I know there's people who, men especially, they don't want to commit to relationships. Women are not committing to relationships until later in life, and it's just causing a error, if you want to call it that,
Yeah,
in thinking, because they think that they can do everything themselves. People think that they can do everything themselves, but yet, what I will say as we begin to wrap up is that as much as it might seem to be a lone warrior, I mean, we watch the Rambo movies, we watch Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator, one man kind of just fighting everyone and winning. It might seem like, oh, that's the answer. However, in real life, you need to find people, five people, I mean, maybe most, maybe three minimum, that you can just say, these are my people. These people are going to help me win, right? They want it just as bad as you want it. It's hard to find those type of people. But when you find those people, you just create a clique, you just hold each other accountable. And before you know it, if one person somehow reaches success first, that one person says, you're with me from the beginning. And then that person helps elevate that brother, right? American culture is a little bit different than other cultures in the world. America is, if you grow up with a brother and a sister or siblings, eventually you move away from the family and you start your own independent family away from your family, your own finances, your own kids and stuff like that. You see them maybe around the holiday time. However, if you do something what people in the Middle East do, they pool together their resources. So they might start a business together. They might start a venture together, whatever it is. And then they're all successful together. Versus maybe once in a while, you get this black sheep, this person to end the generational curse because they really dug deep with other people that weren't blood. It doesn't matter if you're blood or not. It matters about the mindset and about what you're willing to accomplish. My advice to people who are looking to level up their self-development is to find people that are going to lift that up within you, that spirit within you. The best way I have found, maybe the easiest way I have found, is just to get a coach, because you already know that person's going to be one of your 3 people, one of your 5 people, your ride or die people. And you can get different types of people in your life. You can get a fitness trainer, right? That trainer can help you get to that body you need. You can get a business coach, finance coach, whatever, teach you about finances, money. You level up in the areas where you're not good. And then from there, you can start building your empire. Many people just try to go on alone. Okay, let me do this. They have the direction, but they don't have really the directive. So if you can give yourself more directive in your day, understand what is going to be the next move, right? Patrick Bet Davis, think 5 moves ahead. If you can't even think 5 moves ahead, you'll never be ahead. What do you need to do today? What do you need to do tomorrow? What do you need to do in 5 or 10 years, whatever it be? And then you need to figure out a plan of how you're going to commit to that. If you think that you're just going to do it with no commitment and you're just going to see what happens, I can guarantee you by the end of it, and you have no more time, you're going to have so many regrets because you didn't take action today. And one action you could take is reaching out to Dino and just saying, hey, what's going on? I loved your story. Let me tell you mine. And then you're going to find that there's so much similarities between the two. And then from there, you can create that bond. And that is what a coach needs with their client, to create a bond. When that coach is asking you to do something that maybe you don't want to do, you're going to say, but Dino does it. Walk the walk and talk to the talk.
Yeah, 100%. People can follow me at Dino underscore Constantino 1. I post every day. I post in the morning when I wake up. I post my supplements, what I take. I post a quote that gets me going in the morning. Post my workouts. I also post a story of my life. Sometimes my day's not going good. Sometimes I let people know that just because I'm a coach, it doesn't mean that perfect. Because I think people are under the assumption that everybody who leads is perfect, which is probably the opposite. They're imperfect at the highest of levels. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's in it for the money," and I'm like, "Hold on." Anytime someone talks to me about the price, I'm like, "Listen, I'm teaching you values for as much time as you sign up with me, 3 months, 6 months, a year, so forth. You give me money, and in turn, I show you for the rest of your life a process where you can follow to achieve the body, the mind, the nutrition that you need to get where you want to go. And you have that the rest of your life. So the whatever time we have together, so let's say 6 months with me is $1,300. So for those 6 months, I write you out a workout plan. I give you your macros. I do a 30-minute Zoom call with you at the end of the week to hold you accountable. And for 6 months, we do that every week, every day. I promise you at the end of that, you would be like only $1,300. You would be baffled that you only spend that much to learn the tools from someone who's done it, so you could keep it for yourself, and then you could pass it on to people you think need that help. And there's some people that see it that way, but like I said, this you also get those bad apples who just want to trolls and stuff like that, which it is what it is. But other than that, people out there who need help, I'm here to help. I want to help, and I want to show you that just because you're going through a dark time right now, that could be your ultimate gift to lead you to your biggest opportunity.
Perfectly said. And we are not trying to be perfect. We are far from it. We are human. And I think the human aspect is what attracts people to coaches. There was a story of a son going to the mother and saying, hey, mom, like people are not coming to my workshops and my seminars. He's a motivational speaker. And the mom would say, well, The reason why people are probably not going and supporting you is because you're only talking about the perfect moments in your life. You don't talk about the hardship. You don't talk about what you had to do to level up to this level that you're at. People want to hear that. People want to see the failures also. It's not always about the
Oh, those are the
success.
key. Those are the
Yeah.
key.
It's like, think of it as a movie. A movie might last 5 minutes if we truly wanted to understand. We want to know the beginning, what happened, maybe the middle of what happened in the middle that caused the downfall of the character, whatever, and then how they got back up. Think of Rocky. Rocky can end in 10 minutes instead of having the whole running up and down the stairs and push ups and stuff like that. Literally, it can end in about 5 or 10 minutes. Our life can be very similar. We can just tell people the snippets of the best parts, but everything else in between can be the bread and the butter, because what your life is going to entail, I'm talking to the audience, is you can make life very quick or you can make life very meaningful. And so when we teach you skills, when we give you concepts, it's so you can take them, apply them for the rest of your life. What we give you might be a month's worth of work, maybe a year's worth of work, and you can use that until the day you die. You can pass that on to your kids. They can pass that on to their kids. And right there, that's how you make a difference in the world. It's not so much of, oh man, I'm so worried about the cost. The cost should be irrelevant from your best life. Because if your health has been in downfall, let's say you have cancer or something big, it doesn't matter about the money. You would do anything to live for another day. You would do anything to have another moment. So why not give yourself a moment that you can be successful or to be proud, as you said, Dino? That right there is going to be so much more benefit. That right there is going to bring so much more benefit to your life. So choose that over the conformity, the mediocrity that we talked about today. And I want to thank you, Dino, for bringing a great conversation, interesting conversation for sure. And people are going to definitely resonate with this because it's the truth. And people love the truth, but yet they will run from it every single day.
100% likewise, Mike. I appreciate you having me. Your audience enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll see each other down the road, brother. That's for sure.